This is going to be a slightly longer video again, because it's on a very important topic, accepting mistakes and learning from them. Many times when a mistake is made, people try to pretend that it didn't happen. They attempt to justify the wrong position or try and cover it up. Like, oh no, that didn't happen. Then, no, forget about that. They attempt to justify the wrong position or try to cover it up, which actually leads to additional mistakes. This situation reminds me of another quote. When you find yourself in a hole, stop digging. Quite often, more damage is done to credibility, relationships, trust, and integrity by the action taken after the original mistake. Of course, there is another choice when a mistake is made. Admit it, learn from it, correct it, and apologize to those that were adversely affected. There is a power in properly admitting a mistake. There are several principles that keep in mind to achieve the best outcome when admitting and correcting a mistake. These principles include: don't blame others, take full responsibility. If someone else needs coaching, do it in private. Do not get others to admit the mistake on your behalf. So don't say, hey, this person admitted, Stick to the facts and do not make it look like an excuse. Indicate what information was incorrect. This is also not the time for cynical humor used to disguise an excuse or blame. Indicate what you should learn from the mistake and how not to repeat it. Indicate what you should learn. Ask for more input from others. So if you're not sure how to stop it, be like, hey, I realized this is my mistake. This is where I went wrong. How can I stop this? Or, I know I made a mistake, but I'm not sure exactly the nature of the mistake. Like, which aspect of the mistake? Others can help you with that. Apologize to those who have wasted their time. And finally, if there is not an immediate correction, provide the process and time frame for correcting the mistake. All of us make mistakes. It is part of learning and growing. The only people who do not make mistakes are the ones who never try anything new. Trying to be right all the time is stressful, slows progress, and causes procrastination. Admitting and correcting mistakes do not make you look weak. It actually makes you look stronger. When you admit mistakes, you help establish a culture of open communication and a willingness to improve by demonstrating an attitude of, let's learn from this. Remember, mistakes are almost never secret. Most are visible, and the longer they go without correction, the more difficult it is to change. I made a lot of mistakes in my life. Some took me years to accept and learn from. So what steps can be taken to accept mistakes? Step 1, accept your mistake. Give yourself permission to mess up. There are many reasons you should give yourself permission to make mistakes. Making mistakes is inevitable in life and a part of being human. It is also a valuable source of instruction and will enrich your life. It can teach you to try new things and expand your horizons. Sometimes the fear of making mistakes can keep you from trying new things or completing projects because you're so afraid of not doing well that you can't bring yourself to act. Don't let this happen. Step 2, acknowledge the force of habit. Sometimes mistakes are not caused by an effort on our part, but a lack of it. We can't exert maximum effort every single day and in every element of our lives. Things that we do frequently, such as driving to work or making a breakfast, can become so habitual that we don't focus on them. This is actually helpful to us because it allows us to spend energy on things that require more attention. However, sometimes this force of habit can lead us to making mistakes. Acknowledge that. Is it part of being human? Step 3, distinguish between errors of commission and errors of omission. Mistakes aren't always the result of some effort you've made. Sometimes you can make a mistake by not doing something too. Laws generally distinguish between commission, which is doing something that shouldn't have been done, and omission, not doing something that should have been done. With commission usually being the seen more severe, Errors of omission are usually more common than errors of commission. It's important to acknowledge both types of mistakes because you can learn from both. Some people try to avoid errors of commission by doing as little as possible and taking no responsibility. But this doesn't keep you from errors of omission, and it's also not very helpful way to live or grow. Step 4. Distinguish between mistakes and bad decisions. It's important to know the difference between mistakes and bad decisions. Mistakes are simple errors like reading a map wrong or taking a wrong exit. Bad decisions are more intentional, like taking the scenic route to a meeting and inconveniencing the other person by being late. Mistakes are understandable and may require less focus on correcting. You should accept bad decisions just like you do mistakes, but it pays to pay more attention to the bad decisions. Step 5 is just focusing on your strengths. This can actually help you get through to where you want to be. Step 6. Hold on, gotta find it on my little cheat sheet. There we go. Step 6. View mistakes as an opportunity. There are mechanics in the brain that help us detect when we do something wrong. The brain signals to us when we make an error. This can be really helpful during the learning process. So making mistakes can help us focus more closely on what we're doing and try to do our absolute best. Research even suggests that some experts, like doctors, can fail to correct a mistake because they trust their own judgment too much. There are benefits to being open to mistakes and viewing them as an opportunity, even after you've become really good at something. Step 7. Look at how long it takes to become an expert. Research suggests that it can take up to 10 years of experimenting with a skill and making mistakes to truly become good at it. This is true for everyone from the composer Mozart to the basketball player Kobe Bryant. Go easy on yourself. If at first you don't succeed, it's because that's normal. It takes a lot of effort over a long period of time to achieve greatness at something. Step 8. Reframe decisions as experiments. Part of the problem with not allowing yourself to make mistakes is thinking that you must make the perfect decision every time. Instead of this unrealistic goal, try to reframe your decision as experiments instead. An experiment may be a good or bad consequence. You will still do your best to achieve good consequences, of course, but this will take off some of the pressure off. So I started doing some physical fitness things, 30-day challenges as an experiment to keep myself accountable. Whether it work or not, it's still yet to be seen. Usually I get to about the 2-week mark and then I'm like, yeah, I forget. And especially during this time of, isolation. Step 9, discover how the brain deals with mistakes. The brain actually has specific nerve cells that help us watch our performance, detect mistakes, and then learn from what we did wrong. The brain also has difficulty accepting that it has made an error. However, the brain can reframe the experiments into something positive in order to avoid accepting that it has made a mistake. If you're having difficulty recognizing and accepting your mistakes, this is probably why. Understanding how your brain deals with mistakes can help you be more aware of your own experience. Your brain has essentially 2 responses to mistakes. Problem-solving mode. Why did this happen? How can I make this not happen again? And shutdown mode. I'm going to ignore this mistake. The problem-solving mode, unsurprisingly, helps you learn from your mistake and correct them in the future. It is commonly seen in people who believe intelligence is flexible and that everyone is capable of development. The shutdown mode is often seen when you believe that your intelligence is fixed. You're either good at something or bad at something, and that's that. This type of thinking can also keep you from learning and growing. Step 10, understand how society views mistakes. We live in a society that's afraid of making mistakes. We grow up being encouraged to make as few as mistakes as possible. I know I have at least. People who manage to get ahead are those who take this seriously. They do well in school, and you'll get scholarships to university. You do well in university, and you'll graduate with a high GPA and honors. There's little room for messing up. So if you have a hard time accepting your mistakes at first, go easy on yourself. Because it's not all your fault. You've probably been taught to be hard on yourself. I didn't get this A, but a B works. B's are great. You can be a C student and still accomplish your goals. So reminding yourself that you don't have to be perfect.